this video is going to be going over combining like terms and distributive property. To put it simply, this will be we'll be simplifying algebraic expressions. So here we're going to take the typical equation. This typical equation is 7x plus 2y plus 3x. So if you think of x as being squares, so I'm going to substitute my x's with squares, and y as being smiley faces, then the above equation becomes the following. So I had 7 x's, so now that they're squares, I have 7 squares. My y's were smiley faces, so since I had 2y, this is now 2 smiley faces. And since I had 3 x's, again, my x's are now squares, I have 3 squares. So when we simplify, we're combining things that look alike. So you can simplify the above by combining the shapes that are the same. So we want to take things that look alike and combine them together. So if I had 7 x's and 3 x's, as in 7 squares and 3 squares, you now have 10 squares. And as for smiley faces, I only had 2 smiley faces. I only had one term that had a y. So here this will just be and 2 smiley faces. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the inside. So for combining like terms. So like terms are terms with the same variable. And now you might be asking, well, what is a variable? So if you look over here at our examples, we have the letters A, B, X, Y. Really, you can take any letter in the alphabet and that will be known as a variable. So basically, a variable is just a letter that is a placeholder for a number. Now, you can only combine terms with the same variable. So that does not mean I'm going to go over here and combine my 5A with my 2B and get 7A. Okay, you can only combine things that have the same letter. And you also have to pay attention to the number in front of your variable as well. This is known as your coefficient. Now, if you look at example 2, this number at the very end, this -7, this would be known as a constant because there's not a variable tagged onto it. So here we have steps to combining like terms. So number 1 says group the terms by their variable, which is the letter. So for example 1, and note the sign of each term is in front or to the left. So you have to make sure you take the sign with the term. So starting off, I want to group my terms that have the same letter. So here I have 5A. And then I also have plus 3A. These look the same, so I'm going to group them. Plus, I'm going to take the plus sign, 2B. And then I'm subtracting B. So again, notice how I kept the sign that was in front of B and I took it down here as well. So now we're going to simplify each group of terms into one single term. So how many A's do I have? So I have 5A, and if I add 3 A's, so think of this as I started off with 5 boxes, I added 3 more boxes, so now you have 8 boxes. So this is 8A. Then we have plus 2B minus B. So I started off with 2 smiley faces minus 1 smiley face. You now only have 1 smiley face or 1B. So simplifying this is 8A plus B. So it says note, if there is no coefficient in front of a letter, the coefficient is again is your number, it is understood to be 1. So here, where I have minus B, this is minus an imaginary 1B. So that's why when I went over here, 2B minus 1B, I ended up with a single B. And I did not have to write down 1B there either. So now let's take a look at example 2. So for example 2, I have 6x plus 3y plus 10 plus 2x minus 2y minus 7. So again, our first step is to group the terms by their variable or their letter. And again, make sure you're taking the sign that is in front. So here I'm going to start off with 6x. So I need to check, do I have any more x's? So I have plus 2x. Okay, I do not have any more x's, so now let's go on to our y's. So now I have plus 3y. And now I have minus 2y. Make sure you take that sign. Minus 2y. I have no more y's. So now we're going to go ahead and go to our constants, our numbers. So that is plus 10 and then minus 7. So then step 2, simplify each group of terms into a single term. So if I have 6 x's, I had 2 more x's. You now have 8 x's. Plus 3y minus 2y. So you start off with 3 y's. You take away 2 of them. You now only have 1 y, and it's positive. And then we have plus 10 minus 7. So a positive 10 minus 7 is going to be a positive 3. So that is combining like terms. So now go ahead and close this up, and we're going to look at distributive property. So distributive or distribute means to give out. So whenever, think of this like I have all the papers and I'm giving a sheet of paper to every single person in a desk in the class. So here I have the distributive property. It says a waiter serves drinks to 2 tables. So here I have the 2 tables and the waiter has the drinks. So all of the tables get drinks. So here now I have this grouped as a table with a drink plus tables with drinks. So that's just a little pictorial for you. So again, everything inside that parentheses or both tables would get a cup of coffee or a drink. So now looking here for steps to distributive property, it says step 1, multiply the term outside of the parentheses by every term inside the parentheses. So here you're going to multiply the term outside or the term that is to the left of the parentheses. And then you will combine like terms if necessary. So down at the bottom, we want to prove that these 2 terms are equivalent. So here I have 3, and then in parentheses I have 5 plus 2. Well, if you think of PEMDAS, you do everything inside the parentheses first. So this would be 3 times 7, which would equal 21. But using this distributive property, what they're now doing is multiplying every single number inside of the parentheses by the number that is outside. So whenever you do this, you get 3 times 5, which is what we have here. And then you get 3 times 2, which is what we have here. So 3 times 5 would be 15, plus 3 times 2, which is 6. 15 plus 6 would equal 21. So here, as you can see, these are both equivalent whichever way you solve them. However, that's not, you're not always just going to be dealing with numbers here. Now we're throwing in letters. So example 1 for distributive property says simplify each example. So we have example 1, which is 3, and then parentheses x plus 2. So steps 1 say multiply the term outside of the parentheses by every term inside the parentheses. So I'm going to take the term that is outside, which is the number 3. Okay, so I'm going to take 3 and I'm going to multiply it by x. So 3 times x is just 3x. And then I'm also, some people tend to forget to multiply the second number as well. So you're also going to take 3 and you're going to multiply it by 2. So 3 times 2 is 6, and since the sign in front is adding, we'll be adding 6. So simplifying this, this is 3x plus 6. There's nothing you can combine like terms with. So that is as far as it goes. So then example 2, this one's a bit more steps to it. So here I have 6. So I'm going to take 6, multiply it in. So 6 times x is just 6x. And then I have 6 times 4, a positive 4, and I'm adding this, so plus 24. Okay, next we have a negative 2. So this is where it gets kind of a little bit more tricky. You're going to take that negative 2 and you're multiplying it by x. Now, it would not be positive, it would be negative 2x, so minus 2x. And then you're going to take that negative 2 again, because you're multiplying everything inside the parentheses. So you're going to take negative 2 and multiply it by 3. Negative 2 times 3, if you do not know that and you tell me it's a positive 6, you can check this in your calculator. Negative 2 times 3 is a negative 6. So here, minus 6. So now we are going to combine like terms. So again, our steps for combining like terms, we want to group the terms by their variable or letter. And remember to take the sign that is in front of the term. So here I start off with 6x. Okay, so now I want to see what other of my terms have x's in them. So here I have negative 2x, and whenever I move this or group my terms, remember to take your sign. So this is minus 2x. Now I do not have any more x's, so now I'm going to go and take plus 24. And then I'm going to take negative 6 and make sure, again, you include that negative. So now we want to simplify each group of terms into a single term. So here I have 6 x's, and I take away 2 x's. So 6 minus 2 is 4x plus 24 minus 6. Now again, if you're struggling, you can always do 24 minus 6, some quick math in your calculator. You're going to see that this is a positive 18. So 4x plus 18 would be your final answer here. Okay, so again, today you went over combining like terms and the distributive property.